you want to like our channel, click on the subscribe button and click on the bell notification to keep you updated. Last week we last week we started something, say like a kind of review on our JavaScript, right? And we want to go through that again tonight. And tonight should not tonight should be far much more, like, let me say, easier for you guys. So the first thing I want to do, let's have a HTML structure. Okay, that was usually the first thing, so that we can do our inline script. We'll write our script inline in one file. Later you can learn how to make your HTML to be in one page. You take your JavaScript to another file and you link it. But for now, let's run everything just on one page. Okay, so let me just complete this. Let's say we have our head and we have a title. In the title, let's call it event listeners. Okay, then we have the body. Just inside the body, what I want to have, let's have main, right? Let's have main, and inside this main, let's say let's start with the button. Let's start with the button. Let's give let's say click me, click me. Then let's give the button an ID. Okay, we're given this body an ID, and in order to run our simple script, we'll come just before body. We have the script tag for our JavaScript. And what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a programming language. Okay, it's a programming language that it's used to make your web page interactive. Many people say it is the language of the web. So maybe what I would do, for the sake of maybe Uncle Shemi that is still kind of new, and just for general, or maybe for somebody like Rema, sit up, okay, sit up, so that you can pick some basic things even before it goes a little bit advanced. First of all, let me explain. I want to go through it. Let me explain what is JavaScript. Again, I say JavaScript is a programming language, and it's related to many other programming and frameworks such as your React Native, and a whole lot of them. And it has become so popular, because I think it was invented in 1995. It has become so popular. It's used in developing both front end and back end application. It is used in mobile app, and it is so versatile. And that is why I usually take my my coding student, HTML, CSS first. Then we now add JavaScript to it, so that you understand the difference between HTML and what, CSS and JavaScript. We've always talked about that. HTML is you doing the structure, right? Just like you have a building, and the room will be here, the dining will be here, the kitchen will be here. While CSS, HTML, the full meaning of HTML is what? Hypertext Markup Language, right? And who invented it? James Berners-Lee, while he was working with Sam far back 1989 to 1990. Then it was officially inaugurated in 1994. He's also the inventor of the World Wide Web. I've talked about this so many times. You use HTML to make your structure. You use CSS to add colors, to add aesthetics, to add beauty to it. Like you paint the building and wherever. Then JavaScript, it's like the engine that can make things happen, that can bring a lot of logic and control. Okay, so now you use them typically together, HTML, CSS. Now we've had our HTML structure, and to bring our JavaScript into it, we're embedding it into the HTML. That is just before the closing, the body, the closing tag, body closing tag. You can always start and close your JavaScript this way, like I've done here, right? And for this HTML, one thing I would also want to explain is what I call the DOM. Firstly, let me save this, and let's run this stuff. Let me go run it. So now let me just wrap this whole body, or the whole of the button, around the center tag. Remember, I've said it that this center tag is not what I encourage us to use. Okay, it's an old way of doing the center tag, but for now, just to No, that is not the reason. That one is the linting or whatever is the work of the VS Code. Now let me make this bigger so that we see what is happening. Okay, we have this button, click me. I want to play around, click me. But first of all, I explain something. Let me still explain something about the DOM, the document object model. The full meaning of DOM is what? Document object model. And I've always talked about this document object model. I said it is the internal representation of your HTML. Just see this HTML tag, this simple HTML tag, right? Starting from HTML to HTML, right? Look at it that this is a tree. This is like a tree, okay? Then on each of these tree have its branch, the main, the body, the head, and wherever. And each of the branch, everything seated on it, they are called nodes. They are called what? They are called what? Like now, this main tag, this is the main node. This is a button node. Okay, take note of all that. Then also take note of something. In the document object model, we take note of things that there's what called parent, child, and parent. Like main now is a parent. This button tag, this button node, it's a child of main, right? Then this main, this body is a parent to main. Okay, okay. So and take note of something. This button now, this element button that is in the center, it's a node, is a child node. The parent is what? Main. And the grandparent is what? Body. And the great grandparent now you can say is what? The main outer HTML. Okay. Then one last thing I also want to introduce before we start. You know what I'm just doing? I'm just like trying to go back and just give a rough summary. Now again, take note of something. There's something called bubbling. I've always mentioned this. I've always mentioned these terms. There's something called bubbling. Bubbling is an effect that happens on a child, okay, that travels to the parents, to the grandparent, and to the great grandparent. Look at bubbling as an effect. When you have a pool, when you have a bucket, a big pool, or a big bucket of water that is wide, filled with water, when you should carry a coin, a heavy coin or a stone, and drops into the water, what happens? There will be a point. It will start spreading, circular spread. It will spread up to the edge, the boundary. That is like bubbling. So what we are saying is that if you should have a click on this button, right? The effect is not just felt on this button. That click is felt on the main, it is felt in the body, and it is felt up to the last node, up to the last element. Okay, take note of that. That is the reason why if you want to capture, maybe you have this main body, you have so many buttons here, you have more than 1,000 buttons. It is not wise for you to start adding event listeners to each of the buttons. You can add it to the outermost element, and that outermost element we see every click, every effect from the button. Okay, we are still coming to event listener. I'm just trying to like give us a summary of what is happening. And what is event listener itself? Event listener, it's like the ear of the web. It is always listening to any event. The event that is being passed is the object. It's been listening. If there is a click, it captures it. So you can say your add event listener is listening to a click. You can say it's listening to mouse over. You can say it's listening to press down. You can say it's listening to on click or whatever. Okay, take note of all that. This is just like a preamble of some little things you need to get your feet on for you to really understand JavaScript, and particularly what we shall be looking at today, which is add event listener and what? And forms, how to receive your input from your forms, then an array, simple array manipulations. Okay. First of all, like I said, for the sake of like 1 or 2% that is not too familiar with JavaScript, let me start by explaining that in JavaScript, the basic things we want to learn now. Let me just also go through some basic things. Let me just rush through it. The first thing you should take note of is a variable. Okay, a variable is not just unique to JavaScript. A variable is unique to almost all programming languages. A variable is a placeholder that holds data or information. We already know what a data is, already know what information is. We are not going into all that. Okay, a variable is a named container, is a named placeholder. Let's say you have a box. You say this box is filled with toys. You have another box. You say this box is filled with milk. Let's say you call the first box 1, you call the second one box 2. Okay? Box 1 you can say is equal to toy. So that means if you just call box 1, that means you are referring to toy. Okay? If you call box 2, that means you are referring to what? Milk. And now look at something, right? To name a variable in JavaScript, in all different programming language have the way of declaring their variable, but in JavaScript, the main ways you declare a variable is using your let or your word const, or using your const. There are two different things. I will explain it. Now let's start by this. Let's say let box 1. Let's say let box 1. It's equal to what? Let's say robots. Okay? Or let's say toys. Let's say toys. Now take note of something. Let box 1, it's equal to, this equal to you see here is just that we are used to calling it equal to. It is not equal to in programming language. What is it called? It's called the assignment. It's called the assignment sign. Okay? Equal to, it's actually double. That is when you, okay? But this one you are assigning. When we say box A, that means toys assigned to box A. The let is the variable name. And now we are still coming back to click. We are still coming to add event listener. I just want to like explain some few things before we really go into that. We say let box 1 be equal to toy. We can say console log. What is console log? Console log is we writing this thing in the dev tools. Okay, to the development tool. Now, not everybody can see it. Whatever you put to console log is not written to your browser. It's not what? It's not seen on your browser. It's only seen on your dev tool. So once you say console log, you are just like displaying this particular something. So we say console log box 1. Okay. Once we console log box 1, when we come run this thing, in order to let's refresh, that means you right click and do your inspect. When you do your inspect, you come to your console. Okay, you see it's showing what? This toy. Can you see it? You can see. Yes. All right, it's showing the toy here. Then let's remove that is the toy there. That is how to console log to your wherever. Let's say we have another one. Let's say okay, now let's say the difference. I don't want to waste too much time on this. I don't want to waste so much time on this. Let's say we have constant. Now look at something. We have box 1 is equal to toy, right? Now the difference between let and constant is that let and constant you use them to declare your variable, but the main difference is that when you use let, you are saying that whatever you use for let, the value can change later. Okay, that means if it is something that can change, maybe you are doing a counter or you are doing an index, a tab, as it whatever you know that later you can change it and give it another value. Like look at something, say let box 1 be toy. Okay, if later if we come and say box 1 now is no longer toy, but box 1 is what? Milk. It's milk. When we come, the console log, what will happen if you change it? When you refresh it now, you see it's no longer toy, but it is now what? Milk. You can see it's now what? Milk. Why? Because it is a let. Let the value that let holds can change over time. But now let's look at something. Let's have another one. This time around, use constant. Let's say constant Christmas. Okay? Let's say constant Christmas is equal to what? Let's give it a string. Let's say December 20 what? 25th, right? Let's say December 25th. Okay? Now let's console log Christmas. We say it's a constant, right? Good. Let's console log it. Once we console log it, what happens? Once we refresh, it shows what? December 25th is a constant. Now, because it's a constant, let's now give it another value and see what happens. Now, when we come now and we now say, let's say Christmas, let's now give it maybe, let's assign January 1st to read. Okay, let's assign January 1st. Now let's console log Christmas. Let's see what happens. Once you console log in, what happens? Give you an error on cut type error. Assignment to constant variable. Can you see that error there? Right? Why? Because we assigned it using constant. So once it is constant, it cannot change. The value is not expected to change. If this were to be let, if we had made this to be let, if we had made this to be let and come to refresh it, you see it would work. We've changed it, but now we are not changing it. We are giving it Control Z because it is a constant and you try to give it another value, it will always flag that error. Then, as a matter of fact, talking about error, let me show you guys something. There's a better way of writing anything in your coding, right? Let me introduce you to something called the try catch block. Yes, try catch. Like I'll put try, I'll put my parentheses, I'll put this thing inside it, right? Then I will now say catch. Okay? Then this catch, I might not even pass this object to it. I might pass this object to it. Now say it should console log it should console log the error object and the message that is attached to it. Look at something. It will give us the same thing, but now it will give us in a very plain variable way. I will explain this. What this means is that it is just exactly what we do, right? It is just exactly what we do. Look at something. Let me make it simpler. Try catch, it's like telling you that if there is an error, don't break the flow. What did I say? If there's an error, don't break the flow, don't kill it, but rather display a readable output of the error to the viewers that are using the screen. Okay, now let's look at something. Let's do a simple thing that will give us an error. Let's say we have something. We say let today be equal to Monday, right? Let today be equal to Monday, right? We now say console log yesterday. What do you think will happen? We are going to run into error because we do not have a variable called yesterday, right? We do not have, let me make this bigger. We do not have a variable called yesterday, right? So if we should come and run this in our console log, we should come and check it on our console log and we'll refresh. What do we have? On cut reference, yesterday is not defined. What it means is that there is no variable called yesterday. Okay, so that's why we now say instead of doing this that will break the distance, this your code, always use a try catch for it. What it means is that what if the code, if the code works fine, what is in the try will run, but if there's an error, what is on the catch should, don't worry about that. Maybe I will not use it for now. I will not use it for, but let me just give it to you at, like, you use this try, sorry, you use try, try then catch, try then catch. Okay, so here now once you say try, you pass the whole whatever you want it to do here. Then but if there's an error, this is like the object that is being passed to it. So you can now say here, if there's an error, you can say you should console log the error. And to console log the error, you call the object and you pass the message. It has different whatever inside it, but we need the message in particular. So here, when we come here and refresh this place, it gives you the error in a plain text. Can you see it? It gives you the error in a plain text. That is the standard and professional way of writing your code most times, so that it will not break. Just take note of that for now. Even if you are not using it, don't worry. But when it gets to the time, it will be easier for you to use. So having explained all these things in a very little way, let's head on straight to what we have mainly for today, which is what? Add event listener and array. Okay? I'm going to be calling us, you know how we roll, you know how we do it. We'll be coming up on this I will not call it hot seat. I will call it coding seat, one after the other to do our tags. So what we are doing now, they are not actually new to us. We are just still trying to refresh our brain. So now let's get into the DOM manipulation. Okay, now listen to something. Once you have your DOM, you have your HTML, what you need mainly are your IDs. Are what? Your IDs. So this button, we say button ID, but we've not passed anything into the I button. Let's call it let's call it click me. Let's call this click me. Okay, let's call it click me. Let's call it click me. So let's deal with the button now. To access anything from your JavaScript, to access anything in your DOM from your JavaScript, what you do is that you have different way of calling them. You could use your query selector. Yes, you could use your query selector, you could use your tag name, but what at this point, what is still relatable to you guys that I've introduced to you guys that you've been using, let's maintain it for now, which is what? The what? Get element by what? ID. Get element by what? ID. And now when you get an element by ID, I've told you that it gets the whole of the nodes. Like now when you have an input field, for example, when you have an input field, maybe you say input type, right, equal to maybe you call this text field, you call this text field, okay, and let's say we give it an ID. No, sorry, it is the ID we name the type, let it be a text, okay. Then let's say we are giving it an ID of text field. We give it an ID of text field. We have it like this, okay. Let's say we break this down. Let me break it 2 times. I just use this and see. Let's wrap it around the center tag. So everything they are together in the center. Let's have it this way. So now good. We have a text field, right? Let's refresh and see what we have here. Good. We have something like this where you can type anything as text. Let that one remain there for now. We are not using it, but remember something, I introduced comments to you guys. Let me comment this out for now so that you don't think, well, what is a comment? A comment is what you use to add meaning to your code, or you don't want to delete something, you want it to remain there. Okay, it will not apply to the code, but you don't want to delete it so that you can use it later. And at the same time, maybe while you are writing your code, there are simple places you can say this place is for the validation, this place is for the user. Use it to pass simple information into your code. Take note of that. So let's say we have this commented, for example, so that we can always come back to it. But let's go straight to the add event listener. Like I said, from your JavaScript now, you can declare a variable to fetch any of these nodes using the ID. Since we are using ID for now, okay. So to do that, I'll do it. Let's say, let's get the button, for example. Let's say let btn, which is button. Your variable name can be anything, but it cannot start with a number, okay. It cannot start with a number. There are some rules, but for now, just take note of it. Let's say btn is equals to what? Document. Good. Document dot get elements by ID. And which ID are we getting? This is the ID. What? Click me. Right? This is the ID here called what? Click me. We've gotten this get element by ID. Click me. Okay, good. Now, what do we want to do? We want to add a listener to this button. We want to add a listener to this button. We want to add an event listener to it, such that when there is anything, and most of the things that happen on buttons, they are like click. Okay, you have like click, mouse over, mouse out, and whatever. But let's just look at the basic simple thing. Let's call it click for this. Now, what we'll now say is that we've gotten the button. Let's add the event listener. We'll say add event listener this, okay? Then once we come, your add event listener accepts 2 parameters. It does what? It accepts what? 2 parameters. The first parameter is usually the event itself or the action. Yes, which is the event. In this case, let's look at click, okay? Then the second one, it's always a return function. Let me use the arrow function. I should have explained arrow function, but you guys already have an understanding of it. This is an arrow function, or instead of writing it as an arrow function, you can write it this way: function with no name, with no parameter. Actually, it takes a default parameter, which is the event, which is E or whatever you call it. But for now, let's not go into that. Okay? You know what a function is. But now, what did I say is this function? This function is called what? Who can tell us what this function is called? Yes, Deborah. Good, anonymous function. Clap for Deborah. Clap for her. Why is it an anonymous function? What is an anonymous function? No, it's not about value is in it. It has a value by default. We can ask the event. Yes, why is it called an anonymous? Yes. No, it has arguments, it has parameter. It has because it does not have a name. Yes, because it doesn't have a name. Most function have a name, maybe function addition, function display message or whatever. But when a function doesn't have a name but it's used, it's called what? An anonymous function. And in this case, it is also called what? A callback. It's also used as a callback function. It's also used as what? A callback function. What is a callback function? A callback function is a function that is used as a parameter inside another function. This is a function. Add event listener here is a method, which is, let me just still maintain it as a function for now for you guys to understand. But in its parameter, this is also a parameter and it is a function. This parameter is a function. A function that is used as a parameter is called what? A callback function. So first thing, we can say we are adding an event listener to this button that we've called and named as let button be whatever. We can say we are adding an event of click to it, such that when there is a click, what should happen? First of all, we can say let it alert. You know what the alert is the default. You can say let's add an alert to this, and we can say alert. We can say hello, there is a click. Okay, we can say hello, there is what? A click. Okay, so look at something. Once we put this, that let's say hello, there is a click, that let's run it and see. Once I come and refresh here and we click, you see what happens. This is what an alert. It just brings up an alert by default. You can say okay and it closes. That it's that. But now let's take it a step further. Let's use console log now. Let's say let it console log something. Let's say it should console log hello. Once there's a click, it should console log what? Hello. Once there's a click, it should console log hello. You see it console log it to the it. We have it at the console log, right? Now let's now do something. I don't know how many things. Okay, let's do something. Let's look at this input field. Let's add this input field. Let's use this input field. Then lastly, before we do an input field, let's ensure that it doesn't only goes to the console, but it should also display on the screen. Okay? Okay, that should also display what? On the screen. Now let's say we have an input. Okay, we already have the input, but let's create a node for it. Let's create a node for it that it will stay. Let's say we have this we can call this anything. We can call it h. Let's use h2 here. Okay, let's use h2. Then let's give it an id. Let's give it an id of maybe display message, or let's just call it message. Okay, let's call it message. Then in this our place, let's initialize these two arrays. Okay, let's initialize the two arrays. So here we have let message be equal to what? Document, right? Get element by id. Hope you are following what we are doing. Get element by id. The id there is what? Message, right? Now let's get the other one. Let's what is that? The text field. Let that text field, let's maintain it. Let's call it text field. Let's text field be equal to what? The same document, what? Get element by id, right? Get element by id. We call it what? Text field. Okay, all right. Now let's look at something. We want to look at something. Let's look at this input field first of all. Like I said, there are many things you can add to this thing. Okay, you can say again, let's have an event listener to this input field, and the event in the input field is what? Input. And the event is what? The event is what? Input. For an input field, the event is what? Input. So we call, and which of this variable holds the text field? It's called what? Text field. This one, right? So now let's add an event listener to this text field. We say this text field that we initialize there, right? Let's say text field. Let's add an event listener to it too. Let's say add event listener. The event listener we want to add this time is what? Input. Okay? We have different event listener. There is mouse over, there is on click, there is on press, there is key press, okay, press down, press up. There are a lot of them, but I just want to pick one or two just to get our feet on the right track while you sort the other ones. It's so easy. The first event we are looking at is the input, and inside this input we want you to have like a return function. Let's use a return function this time around. And what do we want it to do? We want it in such a way, okay? Remember that once you have anything that has an input, to get the value of what is being typed inside it, it's true what? It's what? It's what? It's what? Yes, it's the value when you have your input. Remember, if you come here inside this your text, this your input text, okay? If you should give it inside this your input text, look at something here. If you should give it a value, once you say maybe value, once you give it a value here, default value, let's say what should we give it now? Let's say this is input. Once you save, what happens? Once you refresh, you see it has this value inside of it. This is input. Can you see it? Okay, so what it means is that once there is nothing there, the value by default it's null. So to get the value, that means if there's anything that goes into that field, that is typed into that field, and you want to catch it via your DOM in your JavaScript, what you use it, you give it the value of the object because the event is being passed. Okay, it has different, but the default one we need is the value. So what I'm saying is this. Let's look at something first of all. Once there's an input field, right? This is an input field we are working on. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, here. Okay. So once we have this, and we now say console log, let's say console log, um, let's say console log the text field now dot value. Please look at that code very carefully. Look at something. This is the text field where we have the input. This is the form, right? This is the form. Let me refresh. This is the form, right? This is the form. Okay? And in your JavaScript, when you say let's, where is it? When you say, let's text field, the document get element by ID, you've already initialized it here. And you know that once you get element by ID, it's holding everything from your less than input. This is input. The ID is what? Text field. And we say let text field be what? Get element by ID. That means once you get it, it's getting everything here. Look at something. If you should say console log text field without the value, look at what happened. When you say console log text field, we've talked about this over and over. When you refresh and you write this, look at what is being displayed. Can you see? Yes. Can you see it? The main point of reference here is that it displays everything. The input is hidden, but it's here displaying the input as whatever. If you should add another thing, you see it's showing you the J, it's showing you the whatever that is being typed. But look at it with the input, everything together, okay? But to get it simply, all you just need to do is come here, add the value to it, dot value, okay? So once you come, it's the same thing. Once you come and refresh, if you should type A, it will give you A. If you should type D, it will add D to it. If you should type C, it will add it to it. Do you see what is happening? So now let's take it this way now. Let's do it this way. That instead of that, it should now write into this space, this H2. We want it that whatever we are typing in the, we want it that whatever we are typing in that field, instead of it to just console log, it should also write into this node, this H2 here. Okay. So what we now have here is this. What we'll do is this. Instead of we just console logging it, before we console log it, we will now say this same, have we called the, where is it? The message. This is the message now, okay? This message, this is it. We'll now say message. We'll now say message dot what? Text content is equal to whatever it's here, whatever is being typed here. That is this same text field dot the value. It should not be confusing. It's very simple. That is it here. Okay? So that means we are saying that whatever we type in that input field should what? Should display and go into that value up there. Is that clear? Now look at what is happening. Sorry. Look at what is happening. Here we refresh now. Look at the top of this place. When you type A, can you see A coming up there? When you type Addo, can you see that whatever you are typing in that field is coming up there? Can you see it? Please take note. The event listener we used in this case is what? Input. Okay? We came to the code. The way you write event listener is the same way you write event listener almost generally, but the only thing that you are changing are the kind of event. In this case, we use input. In this place, we use button. Okay? Then remember how this thing works. Let me add something to this thing. When you come to this place, as a matter of fact, you can even come and give this message and pass the style to it. It will maybe you say style color. You come, you say give it a color. Let me use this color. I love this color so much because it looks like my name, but it's not. It's what we use for the interact project. Now, once you add a color to this whatever, it will pass it on and it will apply it. That means whatever you type now, the color applies to it. You see, once you type Rema, it gets. So what we are doing is that we are manipulating the DOM. What did I say? We are manipulating the DOM. We are fetching elements. In this case, like I said, if I were to do this code, I will not use getElementById. I will use query selector. Because query selector, your ID is the fastest. It targets only the ID, but query selector can also target every other element that are attached to it. Let's leave that. Okay. Move on to